What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars season here on Cinematic Reviews. You can find this episode and the rest of Season 2 on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Today, I get my Baby Yoda on with Season 1 of The Mandalorian. I'll give my thoughts on each of the 8 episodes, along with my favorite scene, quote, and Baby Yoda moment. But before I get into all that, let's talk some facts. The first season of The Mandalorian is a Disney Plus original that premiered on November 12th, 2019. The entire season cost about $100 million, making that a budget of $13 million an episode. The Baby Yoda puppet was operated by 2 technicians. One controls the overall head and eye movements, while the second controls the facial expressions. The puppet itself cost about $5 million. Pedro Pascal was not on set at all in episode 4 due to scheduling conflicts. He did voiceover work at a later date. The show uses a film technique known as volume or stagecraft. He uses a big LED screen that immerses the cast inside the surroundings. After his first sit-down with Jon Favreau, Pedro Pascal thought he was playing Boba Fett. And lastly, Pascal actually injured his nose while filming the scene where his helmet is removed by IG-11. Fake blood was mixed in with the real injury. Now, let's get to my thoughts on Season 1 of The Mandalorian. This is one of my favorite shows of all time. Pedro Pascal is incredible as Mando. He's one of my favorite actors working in Hollywood right now, actually. The first I ever saw him was as Prince Oberyn in the Game of Thrones series. He plays such a badass Star Wars character, and I can't wait for Season 3 to finally drop on Disney+. Fans should feel lucky that the Star Wars universe is going in the right direction under Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Favreau is always a treasure to watch on screen and behind the camera. He really knows how to create a universe and to give the audience something to love forever. Take the hilarious movie Elf, starring Will Ferrell, or the MCU behemoth Iron Man, starring Robert Downey Jr., for example. Filoni is such a master of his craft as well. He did such an awesome job with both the Clone Wars and Rebels animated shows. He did something that I thought I would never see happen before. He made fans love the prequels. I'm at the point now that if Filoni or Favreau are attached to a project, I'm all in, no matter what it is. So let's talk about each episode, along with some fun categories. Chapter 1, The Mandalorian, directed by Dave Filoni. I love the opening scene of Mando coming into the bar to fulfill his bounty. This was the perfect way to introduce us to this new character in the Star Wars universe. We're also introduced to how the bounty hunter guild works. You meet with the guild leader, Grief, on Navarro, and receive your puck. Carl Weathers is always a joy to see, and I'm really glad Disney got him into the Star Wars universe finally. This is a very simple concept, and it should be. We don't need some complicated or insanely thought-out premise. It's pretty straightforward, and I love it. Mando's ship, the Razor Crest, is just as badass as he is. It may look like a bucket of bolts, but it's fierce as hell. So Mando receives this next bounty for an under-the-table amount of commission, and immediately we can tell that something is off with his bounty. Mando must retrieve a 50-year-old target that must be brought back alive. It's revealed that the mystery commission will be paid in the form of Beskar bars. I'm really glad that they're bringing Beskar into the live-action projects. For those that don't know, I love everything that has to do with the Mandalorians. It's probably my favorite area of the universe. They were my favorite parts of the Clone Wars and Rebels animated shows also. Before Mando travels to collect his bounty, he stops by the armor with a single bar of Beskar that he got as a down payment from the client. We get to see how the Mandalorians make their iconic armor, and it's awesome. The flashbacks were also a nice touch to the Mando character. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. Once his sick-ass shoulder plate is made from the Beskar, Mando hops into his Razor Crest to collect the bounty. On the planet, Mando comes across a vapor farmer named Quill, who is played by the incredible Nick Nolte. He trains Mando in riding an interesting-looking creature, which I think they're called blurgs, in order for him to reach his bounty. All trained and ready to go, Mando then finds the target's location, but discovers that he's not the only one looking for the target. This is where we're introduced to a bounty hunter droid IG-11, and it's badass. I love the movement and the choreography that it does. They fight their way to the target, and I love this whole action sequence. The choreography is very well done, and it's just an awesome scene to watch. Once inside this structure, they come across a target that turns out to be a very small child of the same species as none other than Yoda. This blew my freaking mind seeing it for the first time. IG-11 raises his blaster to kill the child, but Mando kills IG-11 instead. We get an awesome shot of the little green hand coming up while Mando puts his finger out to touch it. Now, let's get to the categories. So my favorite quote would have to be at the very beginning of the episode. I could bring you in warm, or I could bring you in cold. That is such a badass line to say to a target when you're coming to collect your bounty. For my favorite scene, I would love the final minutes of this episode. IG-11 murking everyone was awesome, and the choreography was incredibly done. Mando jumping onto the heavy gun and blasting everyone away was also incredible, especially with the music kicking in. And finally, for my favorite Baby Yoda moment of the episode, it would have to be the little green hand reaching out to Mando at the end. It was really freaking cute to see that. Chapter 2, The Child, directed by Rick Famuyiwa. This is a really fun episode. Mando returns to his ship with Baby Yoda, but finds it in pieces after Jawa stripped it for parts. The Jawas are little bastards, but they're always a joy to see on screen. Quill helps Mando negotiate with the little bastards, and it's a great scene to watch. A pissed off Mando agrees to retrieve a Mudhorn egg for them. Mando and Baby Yoda come across the Mudhorn cave, and then Mando gets his ass kicked. Baby Yoda must use the Force to subdue the Mudhorn, and it's an incredible moment. Seeing the little guy use the Force is so freaking cute. Mando grabs the furry egg and exchanges it for his parts back. Quill offers to help Mando repair his ship, and we get an awesome montage of them working together. I really love their relationship, especially in this episode. Now to the categories. Favorite quote would be, "I'm a Mandalorian. Weapons are a part of my religion." Again, that's another badass line to say to somebody. Favorite scene? I think the negotiation scene between Mando and the Jawas are hilarious. The Jawas are such little bastards who like to talk shit to people. Favorite Baby Yoda moment? Baby Yoda using the Force to protect Mando was really incredible to see, and it amazes me every time. Chapter 3, The Sin, directed by Deborah Chow. Mando returns to Navarro and delivers Baby Yoda to the client for 20 Beskar bars. Completely out of character, Mando asks what will be done with Baby Yoda, but the client says that it's none of his concern. Right there, it's pretty obvious that something is off with this guy and his need to have Baby Yoda. Mando returns to the armorer to upgrade the rest of his suit, and it's pretty video gamey. I'm a huge video game guy, so I really like this concept of the show. Once he's suited up in his sick new armor, Mando gets a new bounty from Karga, but immediately feels guilt over Baby Yoda. He returns to where the client is hiding out and just mercilessly wrecks some stormtroopers. He rescues Baby Yoda from the lab, but chose not to kill the Imperial Doctor, which was honestly a little surprising to me. Considering who Mando is, I would expect him to kill all the witnesses involved. On the way back to the ship, he encounters Karga and the rest of the guild. We get an awesome shootout between them all before the other Mandalorians come to Mando's aid. I love the shot of them floating down with their jetpacks. It's so badass. Mando is able to return to the ship with Baby Yoda, and they flee the planet. Now the categories. Favorite quote? I gotta get me one of those. This was a great way to foreshadow Mando finally getting a jetpack. It makes that moment in the finale even sweeter. Favorite scene? I love the scene when the other Mandalorians show up to help Mando, even with their differences. It was a great way to show the loyalty between all Mandalorians. Favorite Baby Yoda moment? Baby Yoda finally getting the ball at the end of the episode was really cute and awesome. Seeing his little green hand reach up for it melts my heart every time. Chapter 4, Sanctuary, directed by Dallas Bryce Howard. Mando and Baby Yoda travel to a forest planet in which they encounter an ex-rebel shock trooper named Cara Dune. Gina Carano as Cara Dune isn't a fan favorite, but I enjoy her character a lot. You can tell she has a dark past and carries a tremendous amount of guilt with her. The chemistry between her and Mando is also great, and I think it's a real shame that things fell apart between her and Disney after Season 2 aired. At first, Cara asks Mando to leave because she called dibs on the planet, but Mando is confronted by local farmers who ask for his help. Mando then requests Cara's help with the problem for money, and they head to the village together. It turns out the village is being harassed by nearby raiders, so the villagers want Mando and Cara to train them to fight. The village immediately falls in love with Baby Yoda, especially the children, which is no surprise because we all fell in love with him immediately. We also get the backstory of Mando never taking off his helmet. In other shows like Rebels and Clone Wars, the Mandalorians take their helmets off all the time. So this is another interesting concept to introduce to the universe. To Mando and Kara's surprise, they discover the Raiders are in possession of an AT-ST walker. They reluctantly train the villagers to fight back the Raiders and the walker. The montage of training is fun, but Baby Yoda playing with the kids steals the show. The battle against the Raiders was very dark, and I had to adjust the settings on my TV, but it was still an awesome fight sequence. I love how Kara and Mando worked together to take down the walker. It showed off their great chemistry together. After peace is restored, Mando at first decides to leave Baby Yoda with the villagers, but soon realizes Baby Yoda isn't safe there because the guild has tracked them to the planet. So they're on the run once again. Now the categories. Favorite quote: "Traveling with me, that's no life for a kid." I love how in each episode we slowly see Mando become more and more as a father figure to Baby Yoda. Favorite scene: the whole fight scene with the AT-ST was incredible and choreographed very well. The scene was really dark, and I actually had to adjust my TV settings, like I said, but the scene itself was still awesome to watch. Favorite Baby Yoda moment: there are a lot of cute Baby Yoda moments in this episode, but my favorite would have to be him sipping the soup while Cara Dune and Mando fight each other. It's just so freaking cute. Chapter 5: The Gunslinger, directed by Dave Filoni. After fighting off a bounty hunter in a crazy dogfight, Mando lands on everyone's favorite planet, Tatooine. He hires a mechanic named Moto in Mos Eisley. I wasn't a huge fan of the Moto character upon my first watch, but after multiple rewatches and seeing her pop up more and more in the future, she started to grow on me. While seeking out a job in order to pay Moto for all the repairs, Mando encounters a wannabe bounty hunter named Toro, who is tracking an elite mercenary named Fennec Shand, who is played by the always awesome Ming-Na Wen. Mando agrees to help, and they track her down in the desert. In their intense fight, Fennec destroyed one of the speeders, so Mando has to find another ride. While he does that, Toro shoots Fennec after he learns that the guild is hunting down Mando and Baby Yoda. Mando then returns to the hangar to find that Toro is holding Moto and Baby Yoda hostage. This is a scary moment, but we all know that Mando has something up his sleeve, which he does. He flashes a bright light to distract Toro and kills him. He uses Toro's money to pay Moto, and our two heroes depart Tatooine. So, favorite quote: that's my line. I love how Mando has claimed the line, "I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold," as his own. Favorite scene: Mando killing Toro to save Baby Yoda was perfect. It showed how smart the character is and how much he's starting to care for Baby Yoda. Favorite Baby Yoda moment: Baby Yoda walking down the catwalk of the ship is so freaking cute, and it showed off the techniques that he used to bring the character to life. Chapter 6: The Prisoner, directed by Rick Famuyiwa. Mando contacts his former partner Rand Mock for work. You probably recognize the actor from Batman Begins and Sons of Anarchy. Rand offers Mando a spot on a 5-man job that they're planning for. The crew consists of Mayfeld, played by the hilarious Bill Burr, a droid named Zero, a big red guy named Berg, and a Twi'lek named Xi'an. The job is to break out Xi'an's brother Quinn, who is a prisoner of the New Republic. I don't know if it was just me, but I could easily tell that something was wrong with this job right off the bat. The crew infiltrates the prison ship and fights their way through security with some cool blaster sequences. They kill the security chief, but not before he triggers a beacon to the New Republic. The crew finds Quinn and double crosses Mando. Like I said, I knew something was off with the job. Back on the Razor Crest, Zero finds Karga's message to Mando about Baby Yoda and decides to capture him. Meanwhile, Mando takes out each of the crew members, and it's awesome. Every episode continues to cement the character as a badass, and this episode is no exception. After the crew is locked up in one of the prison cells, Mando captures Quinn and delivers him to Rand. Mando then departs with his payment, but Rand immediately orders a fighter to take down the Razor Crest. Mando had another trick up his sleeve, though, and it's awesome. He hid the New Republic beacon on Quinn, and X-Wing fighters show up. They destroy Rand's station, and Mando flees safely with Baby Yoda. So, favorite quote: Ren says, "Well, Mayfield, he's one of the best triggermen I've ever seen. He's a former Imperial sharpshooter." Then Mando says, "That's not saying much." And Mayfield responds, "I wasn't a stormtrooper, wise ass." I just love this interaction so much because Bill Burr is hilarious in anything he does, but he is especially great in the Star Wars universe. Favorite scene: Mando taking down the crew one by one in the prison was awesome and really badass. Favorite Baby Yoda moment: Baby Yoda trying to use the Force on Zero was so freaking cute. Chapter 7, The Reckoning, directed by Deborah Chow. Mando receives a message from Karga, who proposes a trade because his town on Navarro has been overrun by the client's stormtroopers. Karga wants to use Baby Yoda as bait so that they can kill the client. In return, the guild will stop hunting down Mando. I'm always fearful with any plan that involves Baby Yoda, and this is no exception. Thinking ahead, Mando recruits Cara and Quill as backup in case the plan goes south. This is where we're introduced to a reprogrammed IG-11 that Quill has been working on since episode 1. We get a great montage of Quill training him, and I'm really glad IG-11 is back, because he was one of the reasons why the first episode was so exciting for me. They then meet Karga, along with a couple of other bounty hunters. They camp out for the night, but are attacked by these dragon-looking creatures. It's a really intense scene, especially when they start taking the blurg that Quill brought along. They manage to scare off the creatures, but Karga was severely injured during the fight. Baby Yoda takes it upon himself to help, and he uses the Force to heal Karga, like we saw Rey do with Ben in Rise of Skywalker. With a change of heart, Karga decides to not double-cross Mando and kills the other bounty hunters. They devise a new plan that involves Cara pretending to capture Mando, while Quill takes Baby Yoda back to the Razor Crest. During the meeting, stormtroopers led by the client's boss, Moff Gideon, open fire on the building and kills the client while also trapping our heroes inside. Gideon arrives in a badass TIE fighter and demands Mando to hand over Baby Yoda. We get an incredible monologue delivered by Giancarlo Esposito. I love Esposito in anything that he does, especially Breaking Bad, but I really love him in the Moff Gideon role. Meanwhile, outside town, 2 scout troopers kill Quill on his way to the Razor Crest and capture Baby Yoda. This cliffhanger was really heartbreaking, but also incredibly well written and executed. So for favorite quote, he's trying to eat me. I laugh every time this line is said by Karga when Baby Yoda touches his arm to heal his wound. Favorite scene, the cliffhanger at the end is so well written and heartbreaking for the audience. Favorite Baby Yoda moment, Baby Yoda choking Cara Dune on board the Razor Crest was really cute, but also really terrifying. Chapter 8, Redemption, directed by Taika Waititi. We get this funny scene that went on a little too long of the 2 scout troopers that killed Quill. They're having a blaster contest and both keep missing the target. They hear Baby Yoda moving in the bag and start messing with them. At one point, one of the stormtroopers punches Baby Yoda, and the audience immediately wants to kill them violently. IG-11 shows up though and does it for us. Back in town, Gideon informs our heroes that they have until nightfall to hand over Baby Yoda. IG-11 then arrives with Baby Yoda on a speeder and saves our heroes. We get this awesome action sequence of IG-11 blasting stormtroopers while shielding Baby Yoda. We also get some awesome blaster shooting from Mando before he's injured by Gideon. Mando tells the others to escape and to find help from the other Mandalorians. We get an incredibly cute moment of Baby Yoda using the Force to block fire from a stormtrooper before Mando again orders them all to escape. IG-11 decides to stay behind, and we finally get to see Mando without his helmet. Pedro Pascal is incredible in the scene, and I think it was smart to show his face in order for the audience to have a deeper connection with the character. IG-11 helps with his injury, and they rejoin with the others. The rest of the Mandalorians are gone, except for the armorer. She instructs Mando to return Baby Yoda to his kind, and hands him a jetpack. They're able to escape down the lava river, while the armorer fights off stormtroopers in such a badass scene. I love all the choreography in this episode. Our heroes head down the river in a ferry, but realize it's another trap. IG-11 decides to sacrifice himself to save everyone. We get a great back and forth between Mando and IG. That was a real big character moment for him. You can tell that Mando is starting to realize that not all droids are bad. IG heads down the river and activates his self-destruction protocol, killing all the stormtroopers around him. Gideon then shows up in his TIE fighter, and we get an awesome battle with Mando using his jetpack to take down the fighter. Gideon crashes, and Mando is able to leave Navarro safely with Baby Yoda. We get a touching scene of him burying Quill before he leaves in the Razor Crest. The episode ends with Gideon cutting himself out of his damaged TIE fighter with the Darksaber, and it blew my freaking mind. I never thought that we would get the Darksaber in live action. For those that don't know, the Darksaber was a huge weapon used in both the Rebels and the Clone Wars series. Now to the categories. Favorite quote. I really love Gideon's monologue about Mando and Cara Dune's past. Esposito delivers that monologue so well, it gives me really big hope for the character later on in the series. Favorite scene: Mando fighting Gideon's TIE fighter with the jetpack was really awesome and very well choreographed. Favorite Baby Yoda moment: Baby Yoda riding on the speeder with the IG-11 and laughing was so freaking cute and fun to see. Now to end the episode, let's get to the rankings. So this is one of my favorite projects in the Star Wars universe. Ranking the 2 seasons of Mandalorian against each other is really tough, but I would have to put Season 2 over Season 1 by just a really small margin. It has more epic moments and awesome action scenes, but I'll get into that more on next week's episode. Ranking these 8 episodes against each other is also tough, but episode 8 would be number 1, followed by episode 7, 1, 2, 6, 3, 4, and coming in last is episode 5. On the overall Star Wars list, Season 1 of Mandalorian takes the number 3 spot behind Season 2 and Book of Boba Fett. I'll talk about those in the coming weeks and why they take the top 2 spots. You can find this entire list and many other lists on Letterboxd under Cinematic Reviews. Well, that'll do it for this episode. Join me next Friday for Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Also join me every week for New Release Monday. This Monday, I will be giving my thoughts on the highly anticipated MCU film, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But until then, may the Force be with you, always.